Good morning and welcome back to Wake and Take. It's your boy Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. It is Tuesday, so of course we're going to go through the waiver wire heading into week 3, the players that you need to add either in advance, hoping that maybe something falls their way, or that had a good week 12 that we need to throw on our roster. So without further ado, go ahead and take out your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All right. Welcome in, everyone. Glad to see you all this morning. This is pre-recorded. I'll go ahead and be frank. This is pre-recorded. I'm not sure if I'll be live in the chat with you guys. Had some stuff come up this morning, so went ahead and recorded the episode in advance. As usual, as we do here, these are going to be players that are available in 75% or more of leagues that you need to go ahead and add. We'll be breaking that up into different formats, as well as saying like, hey, you could add this player. I just, just know what you're getting. And we'll talk about that as we get into some of those players. But we'll go position by position, breaking down the players in those positions that we need to be adding. Should be fun. Should be fun. But before we get into it, I did want to let you guys know about Fastdraft DFS.
Oh, incredible news about Fastdraft. Fastdraft DFS is live. It's called the Flex 6 Frenzy. You just draft 6 guys, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends for the Sunday slate. You like Jahmyr Gibbs? You like Jackson Smith and Jigba? You like Tyrone Tracy? Draft him. And the beauty is you can just order 5 teams, submit your rankings, and Fastdraft will email you the results. We awarded $1,000 in prizes our first week, and we're just going up from there. Soon there's going to be a select 6. No drafting at all. You just pick any 6 guys. Our DFS mantra, just say no to salaries on Fastdraft. Don't forget there's free tools on Fastdraft too. You want to get ready for startup season? We've created the best Dynasty mock draft experience there is. And if you want to play in these DFS contests and our best ball contest for 2025 coming very soon too, just use promo code PODFATHER when you deposit and you get a free draft. It's that easy. And you're like, oh, I already have Fastdraft. Great. Refer a friend. Have them put your username in as the promo code, and then you and your friend will both get an instant deposit match up to $25. We got DFS. We got Dynasty Mocks. We got Best Ball. It's all there for you on fastdraft.app. Check it out. And the promo code is PODFATHER.
Cannot recommend Fastdraft enough as we head into week 13. Week 13 DFS should be live at some point, either later today, already is live. Not sure, but it should be out at some point, probably today. I remember we went live Tuesday last week, so look for that. It's awesome. The Flex 6 Frenzy, draft 6 players and see how you do for the week. It's really, really fun. Who doesn't love drafting? And especially who doesn't love drafting fast? And you don't have to draft you don't have a waiver wire in Fastdraft, but you do in your regular league. So we've got players. We're going to start at the quarterback position. And again, we start off pretty much every waiver wire episode this season, actually. Even before he got the starter job, we talked about making sure you get Drake May on your roster. He still is available in way too many leagues for the points that he's putting up, the floor he provides. Did have kind of a stinker week against the Dolphins, but still scored the touchdown, still had some carries, and is just figuring it out. This is a player who has a floor with his rushing ability on top of just kind of finding himself in game scripts where he has to pass the ball a little bit more. He is fantasy relevant, needs to be rostered in single QB, and is pretty much an every week starter going forward. So get him on your team, as well as Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston still heavily available, widely available across leagues, and just shouldn't be. I mean, you should not have a quarterback available if he's throwing the ball over 40 times a game. Yeah, sometimes that means it's going to be Jameis Winston, 3 interceptions, no touchdowns, but sometimes it's 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, no interceptions, and he's getting those fantasy points for you, especially as Jerry Jeudy is establishing himself. Elijah Moore's playing well. Cedric Tillman's playing well. David Njoku's playing well. Nick Chubb's starting to play well as well. This Browns offense in general looks pretty damn good lately. So Jameis Winston needs to be rostered. Not sure why he's so available. He's slinging it and putting up fantasy points, so get Jameis Winston. Will Levis is a quarterback we've been talking about for a while now. He's kind of elevated every single week from dynasty only to super flex to now I'm honestly just thinking maybe you could get him in single QB as well. He has a very pass-friendly schedule to end the season, and over the last 3 weeks hasn't had a game under 15 points. Not only is he passing the ball well, he's starting to run as well. He has 15 carries over the last 2 weeks, not amounting to a lot of yards, but he did have 5 carries for 41 rush yards in week 10, so it is definitely there. And that was kind of the case for him in his rookie season as well, and why we liked him as a prospect was the fact that he can pass the ball, but he has a little bit of wheels too. Nothing too fancy, but can, scramble just a little bit, just enough to get those fantasy points. He's doing well over the last 3 weeks, and now just beats the Houston Texans, puts up 2 touchdowns, almost 300 yards. This is a player who just is looking to be consistent, looks to have a good head on his shoulders, and looks to be developing into the quarterback that the Titans want. If he's still available in your super flex, you should definitely have him. But if he's available in single QB, I think that there might be a couple matchups heading throughout the rest of the season where you actually might want to start him over some other options. So I don't mind rostering him either, especially in Dynasty, as he might develop into a pretty steady option throughout his career. So Will Levis needs to be rostered. Justin Fields does as well. And Justin Fields is more for deeper superflex leagues at this point, but in Dynasty as well, I don't mind getting Justin Fields. I mean, for this season, obviously it's going to take a Russell Wilson injury, but if that happens, we have seen Justin Fields put up points as the Steelers quarterback this season. And we know he can get it done in the ground as well as passing it on this team. So if anything happens to Russell Wilson, Justin Fields would be fantasy relevant again. And so I want to just kind of roster him just in case, right? Like I don't really want to have to add Justin Fields because he's just going to cost a ridiculous amount of fab. So I just want to go ahead and get him now just in case in Superflex leagues. And in Dynasty, I want to roster him as well, just in case he becomes the starter somewhere next year, whether it be Pittsburgh or just a whole nother team in general. He did show a lot of promise and poise this season to where I think he will get another chance. So Justin Fields, I think, needs to be rostered in Dynasty and in Superflex. Bryce Young also needs to be rostered in Dynasty and perhaps Superflex as well. He's not really putting up fantasy points, but he is being a good NFL quarterback. He won 2 of the last 3 games and just only lost by 3 to the Chiefs. Throw for over 250 yards with a touchdown and no turnovers, and that's about all you can ask for against the Chiefs if you're Bryce Young. He had 2 wins before this game, and especially a game against the Giants where he had a touchdown and no interceptions as well. Has been playing a little bit better since returning to the starting position after Andy Dalton's car crash. So I think that he is kind of developing and trending in the right direction. In Dynasty especially, I want him. I think that he will definitely still be the starter next year and hopefully just a better Panthers offense in general. But even in Superflex this year, he's trending in a direction to where he could at least be a quarterback 2 in a pinch if you're in a deeper league, or not even a deeper league if you just are in a pinch in general. 16 points against the Chiefs, not great, but if he can get you that consistently, 10 to 15 as your quarterback 2 and just hope the rest of your team is good, that's not the worst thing in the world. So Bryce Young, I think, needs to be rostered in Superflex and probably Dynasty as well, just in case he does, stay as the Panthers quarterback and, take a big step forward next year with the right draft picks and other investments going around him. Desmond Ridder. I mean, I guess, right? In Superflex, you should probably be adding Desmond Ridder. With Gardner Minshew out for the year, it's looking like Desmond Ridder is going to be the guy. He has wheels, right? Like he can run the ball, and he has Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers to throw it to. He's not going to be great, but he's going to put up fantasy points, similar to Bryce Young. He's going to be consistent enough to where if you need to rely on him, you can. I don't feel great about it, but, that's kind of the thing with Superflex, right? Is sometimes you just got to roll out a quarterback you don't really feel great about. And that's Desmond Ridder. He's going to be the starter, it looks like, in Las Vegas for the rest of the season. Definitely need to keep an eye on him just in case. At least in Superflex. Although, actually, Aiden O'Connell might be returning as well, so maybe not. Maybe just put a little bit of fab just in case. But, yeah, it's probably actually going to end up being AOC. I think he returns from IR, so it might not actually end up needing to be Desmond Ridder at all. Kind of one of the problems with pre-recording. Am I right? But either way, probably still worth, maybe not. Maybe not worth it. Maybe throw a couple bucks just in case. And then lastly, just a couple stashes. JJ McCarthy in Dynasty. If he's available, just get him in single quarterback and Superflex. If you're in a Dynasty league and he's somehow available, get him. As we're seeing with the Vikings, if Sam Darnold can look this good, JJ McCarthy should look good as well. We like that prospect a lot. And he also has some wheels, so he should give us a rushing floor over his career as well. So JJ McCarthy, someone we definitely want to get if he's available, and Michael Penix as well as Kirk Cousins. You know, the case this year is a Kirk Cousins injury, but it's also possible that he takes over as a starter next year as well, especially if the Falcons do end up missing the playoffs. It might be worth kind of pulling that experiment. So if Michael Penix is available in your Dynasty League, I would look to add him. And that's it for the quarterback position. Let's bounce to running back, and running back should be quick. Running back will be very quick. Everyone pretty much has the same exact philosophy here. We are throwing backup running backs, handcuff running backs on our bench, right? We have just a few more weeks of the season. We have no idea who's going to get hurt, but we can guarantee that one of these backup running backs is going to end up being a league winner. So I've got a few for you that I just want to go ahead and mention if they're out there to go ahead and get on their team. For this, I increased it. These are going to be running backs available in 70% of leagues. So some shallower, but I wanted to get Trey Benson, who was like 27% rostered. So anyway, so Trey Benson, right? If anything happens to James Conner, he's going to be a stud. Roshan Johnson, if anything happens to DeAndre Swift, he'd be a stud. Audric Estime, Jaleel McLaughlin just picked up an injury. Javonte Williams just ran for negative yards. So Audric Estime, if he's available, needs to be rostered. That's not even injury dependent. Could just get him. Braylon Allen, if anything happens to Breece Hall, Braylon Allen should be good. Cam Akers and Ty Chandler, if anything happens to Aaron Jones, they should be solid. Ray Davis, if anything happens to James Cook, we've seen what could happen with Ray Davis. Blake Corum, if anything happens to Kyron Williams, Blake Corum should be solid. Khalil Herbert, if anything happens to Chase Brown, Khalil Herbert. Jalen Wright, if anything happens to Mostert or Achane, Jalen Wright season. Emmanuel Wilson, if anything happens to Josh Jacobs, Emmanuel Wilson season. Kenneth Gainwell and Will Shipley. If anything happens to Saquon Barkley, Will Shipley and Kenneth Gainwell should get some volume. And I might as well go and put myself on record. I wouldn't be surprised if Will Shipley's like a Ray Davis situation, where if something does happen to Saquon, which, God, we do not want that to happen, Will Shipley actually might jump Kenneth Gainwell. I would be curious to watch that. And Chris Rodriguez, with Brian Robinson re-injuring himself, Austin Eckler picking up a concussion, we might actually see some Chris Rodriguez action. And the last one, in Dynasty only, Kamani Vidal. It looks like we're not really going to see him this season with Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins both out there. But still, Kamani Vidal needs to be rostered in Dynasty leagues for sure. It's very possible he's the RB2 next year or even the RB1, as both Dobbins and Edwards were one-year deals. So we want to go ahead and get ahead of that and get him on our team. And that's running backs, right? I mean, just get your backups, get your handcuffs, do what you can. Do what you can. So that'll now lead us to the wide receiver position. And wide receiver is always tough. For the most part, I always love to preface the wide receiver section with only add these players if you need a wide receiver. Right? For the most part, these players are going to clog your bench and you're not really going to want to start them. Now, of course, they have the ability to score fantasy points, hit your starting roster and be happy about it. But for the most part, it's fairly unpredictable. These are fringier players. You don't feel great about it. We'll talk about it on a player-to-player basis, but just know that basically I'm only recommending adding these wide receivers genuinely if you need one. If you need one of these wide receivers, if you're just adding a player to add a player, get a running back. So Marcus Valdes-Scantling, back-to-back weeks with touchdowns, seems to be the Rashid Shaheed, back-to-back weeks of over 15 points. You've just got to get him, I guess, especially if you need a wide receiver. You want to take a boomer bust option in your flex. Seems that MVS could be that. Adam Thielen. Now, this might be someone that you could actually rely upon in PPR. Now, this week, of course, only 7 points, 4 targets, 3 receptions, 57 yards. But this was his first week back from injury. Also a tough Chiefs defense that actually is pretty good against slot receivers. So that's, to me, kind of encouraging. We've seen him and Bryce Young have a good kind of rapport before. So I kind of actually want to get Adam Thielen. I wouldn't be surprised if he's PPR dependable rest of season. Alec Pierce is just boomer bust, right? If you want a boomer bust option, he's there. He's getting the targets. Sometimes he brings them in. Sometimes he doesn't. I'll say this. It's been a couple weeks now since he scored a touchdown. So, probably going to have one soon. But get Alec Pierce if you need a boomer bust option, if you want a wide receiver. Nick Westbrook-Akine. He just is a touchdown magnet. 6 out of the last 7 games, he's had a touchdown. And that's fine, right? That's exactly what we're looking for. In fact, 4 out of the last 5 games, he's had over 10 points. So Nick Westbrook-Akine is kind of reliable right now, even if he's only getting, 4 or so targets a game. That's fine, right? The Titans are kind of passing the ball. Will Levis is looking a little bit better. So if you need a wide receiver for your flex, just a kind of consistent looking floor option. I mean, for the most part, this is coming off touchdowns, but he has more touchdowns than Justin Jefferson this season somehow. So it just seems he has a tendency to score touchdowns. And that's, I guess we can bet on that. So Nick Westbrook-Akine, if he's available at this point, seems that we need to get him. Elijah Moore, too. Elijah Moore is a lot more available than he should be with the way Jameis Winston's slinging the ball. Really, all the Browns pass catchers need to be rostered. Only 3 points against the Steelers on Thursday Night Football, but that was a snow game, right? I mean, and Jerry Jeudy, it was the Jerry Jeudy game. But Elijah Moore still, being fed 5, 8, 9, 12 targets over the last 4 games, and that's totally fine. So if he's available, you could get him, especially if you need a wide receiver. He gets enough targets to where you should feel okay with him in your flex. Jalen McMillan is next, and this is about as fringy as I'll get, at least in terms of adding him for redraft. Now, this is tough. He's not really being utilized. He's been less than 100%, but I just kind of feel it in my bones that he's going to be utilized rest of season. He had 2 targets this week, but this was a game script where they didn't need to pass too much. It pretty much all went to Bucky Irving and Mike Evans. So we'll see next week, right? But I just think with Mike Evans back, this Buccaneers team is going to pass the ball a little bit more. They're going to look a little bit better in general. And as they're in second place in the division, they're going to want to try to pile up some of these wins. So the Buccaneers, I look at Jalen McMillan, and I actually think that some of the usage he got earlier in the season, even in games with both Chris Godwin and Mike Evans out there, should come back. I'm not sure when and why it's taking so long, but I do think that Jalen McMillan will get some usage. So I don't mind adding him as well. Now, the next few wide receivers are going to be dynasty only, starting with Adonai Mitchell. He is kind of boomer bust, but he's even more boomer bust than Alec Pierce. However, in dynasty leagues, if he's still available, I do want to add him. I do like his potential over his career. He's got a great athletic profile, and he is the type of wide receiver that should be able to find some success with Anthony Richardson. Devon Vele in dynasty as well. I've kind of been snubbing him a little bit over the last few weeks, but he's getting volume. And it seems that the Broncos will probably move on from Courtland Sutton at the end of this season. So him and Troy Franklin probably need to be added in dynasty, as both of them will probably be decent parts of the offense next year, along with Bo Nix. So I like them. Devon Vele keeps producing 6 receptions for 80 yards this week, but over the last 3 weeks has had 8 or more points. So I like him. And I like Troy Franklin too. Troy Franklin seems to be doing less than Devon Vele, but still I do like his potential, especially since he's college teammates with Bo Nix. I really do think that'll help him in his career. So I want to get both of those Broncos wide receivers in dynasty. Luke McCaffrey as well. Luke McCaffrey is just, slot receiver, 3rd round draft pick, a new to wide receiver, was a quarterback before wide receiver. So was always going to kind of take some time. I was hoping he would break out a little bit at the end of the season, but it's not happening. Hopefully next year with another off season, as well as the Commanders kind of just figure themselves out in terms of their identity on offense as well. Luke McCaffrey, I think as he develops, will become more of a target magnet. And so I want to go ahead and try to get him in dynasty while I can. Roman Wilson in dynasty as well. We haven't been able to see him play, really. So he's been injured, will not play this season. But if he's available in dynasty, I do want to add him. I like his potential a lot. This is a profile. Basically, it's Ladd McConkey on the Steelers, literally the same exact profile, except Roman Wilson had better college production and was better at the Senior Bowl. With my own eyes, I was there. So I like Roman Wilson a lot. I do think he has a lot of potential and do think we need to be rostering him. And then, of course, can't go a waiver wire episode without mentioning Ryan Flournoy. If he's available in your deeper dynasty leagues, go ahead and throw a swing at him as well, just in case Ryan Flournoy happens. And that's the wide receiver bit. At tight end, it's a little bit shallow. It's kind of the same players we've been talking about all season. It's those rookie tight ends not named Brock Bowers. Jatavian Sanders, if you're in a deep tight end league and he's still available, if you're in a dynasty league and he's still available, get him. Now, it's seeming that he's probably not going to be able to do much for redraft this season as he just got injured, but we're not sure what the time frame is. It is possibly returns at some point. He's been getting a decent bit of targets. Even this week before the injury, had 3 receptions for 49 yards. His athleticism is nice. His volume is nice. His fit in the offense is nice. We like Jatavian Sanders a lot. If he's available, we want to add him. Ben Sinnott, if he's available in your dynasty league, It's not going to be till next year with Zach Ertz kind of hogging everything, but he should be the tight end 1 in Washington next year. Really good profile as well. We like Ben Sinnott. Want to go ahead and add him in Dynasty. And Theo Johnson in deeper leagues, but mostly Dynasty. He's getting fed. He has athleticism. We like Theo Johnson a lot. 3 straight games with 6 targets, which is nothing to scoff at. Now, he's only really getting 5 or so points unless he gets a touchdown, but that's fine. Totally fine for a rookie. Want to go ahead and add him in Dynasty, but, there's also some potential in deeper leagues as well. He had 6 targets with Tommy DeVito, so that's not bad at all. So those are the tight ends I'm looking to add, and that's the Waiver Wire show in general. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button and make sure you subscribe. I'll be back tomorrow live on Wake and Take at 10 a.m. Eastern, so make sure you hit that bell to get notified. Follow me on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, whatever, at JFootballWine. And you all have a terrific Tuesday, a wonderful rest of your week. Peace.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.